Alrighty guys, so today I'll be giving you another Dragon Ball Z segment on why didn't Goten and Trunks have tails? And the answer to that question is Akira Toriyama simply forgot about them. When asked in an interview about why didn't Goten and Trunks have tails, he simply said they were removed at birth. The fact that he stuttered and the fact that he was holding off on that question simply says that he simply forgot about them. So without wasting any more time, let's think as to what would have happened if Goten and Trunks did not have tails, or if they did have tails. Now, if Goten and Trunks didn't have tails, obviously all of the events in the show would take place the way they did. They would be able to go Super Saiyan, there would be no threat of an Ozaru transformation, and better yet, they would probably have more speed and they wouldn't have to rely on their power when the moon comes out, which would make them a lot more versatile as Vegeta or Goku may suggest. But at the same time, if they did have tails, that would make the show a lot more interesting in my opinion. Because if they had tails, you would have to worry about more of a threat to society. And conflict is always good in a plot. If Goten and Trunks didn't have tails, if they did have tails, let's think about what the show would have taken as an approach. So, let's say Goten and Trunks had tails as babies. And one day they looked up in the moon, what would happen? Well, Vegeta or Gohan, or maybe one of the other Zeroers, would be forced to fight them in their Ozaru forms, and they would have to cut them off. So at some point in their lives, they may have had to have gotten their tails cut off at some point regardless. At the same time, as we can see from Raditz and Nappa and Vegeta, a Saiyan's tail is always deemed as a weakness. So let's say Goten and Trunks or fuse into Gotenks and they're fighting Super Buu. And as they're fighting Super Buu's like grabbing their tail and just smashing them into mountains and buildings and stuff. That may be deemed as a weakness. Now, a lot of people do not like Dragon Ball GT. Personally, I think it was a decent series. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as Dragon Ball Z was. But if Dragon Ball GT was actually a lot better, maybe you could have used Goten and Trunks in Dragon Ball GT. Maybe you could have made them, turned into a Super Saiyan 4 Goten. Although this is completely fan speculation on my part, I think it's an interesting idea to think that Goten and Trunks had turned Super Saiyan 4 in Dragon Ball GT and may have assisted Goku and Vegeta in those battles against the Shadow Dragons and Android 17 and Baby and whatnot. That's an interesting idea. But the fact of the matter is that Goten and Trunks do not have tails because Akira Toriyama forgot. Now, if you want to go back to the fact that if they didn't have tails, they would be considered a lot weaker, I don't really think that plays really much of a role. Because if they didn't have tails, they are basically going to go Super Saiyan anyways, right? And if they did have tails, maybe they might have the ability to go Super Saiyan 4, but maybe you need to be a pure Saiyan to go Super Saiyan 4 regardless. People always believe that you need to have stronger Saiyan blood to advance in the Saiyan form. I personally disagree with that because of the fact that Gohan was able to transform into a monkey. And at the same time, Goten and Trunks were able to go Super Saiyan 3, something Gohan never was able to accomplish. Now, I basically think that if Goten and Trunks did have tails, the show would be a lot more interesting because society has to worry about them as a threat, and their tail may be deemed as a weakness by other villains. Anyways guys, this has been my video. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, and remember to have a great day guys.